All right. Hi, everyone, and welcome to this Cryptoverse Land Minting AMA special. My name is Dan, and I am the new Cryptoverse marketing lead at this very special AMA, as we're going to be answering all your questions on the upcoming mint on Monday and a bunch of others, as Robbie's just said as well. So if your question isn't asked, then please just request a question in the AMA question tab, and we'll get you on stage and we'll do it live. So today I'm flanked by Cryptoverse geniuses in the form of Technical Project Manager Mridul,
Hey guys, pleasure to be
uh, uh,
here.
great to have you, bud, and Cryptoverse visionary and ChainGuardians founder slash god, self-proclaimed genius Robbie Cochran.
I only answer to Cryptoverse Sensei.
Is that true?
Well, I just said it is.
So yeah, thanks everyone for joining us. We'll go through all your questions. We'll show you some new videos on how to use the land minting tool. We'll show you an updated world map, which is looking pretty sexy if you ask me. And we've got a couple of decent leaks as well, which we can share with you too. So before we get started, though, I just wanted to share with you a couple of updates, and we've been making some great strides over the last couple of months in Cryptoverse. We've got a team of about 20 people, is it, Rob, bringing this thing to life?
Yeah, I'd say we're about that number at this stage now, somewhere close to it, I would say.
And is it true that they're working 80 hours a week, 7 days a week?
Oh, mate, like 100 hours a week, 8 days a week.
We invented crunch culture, apparently.
Yeah, sorry to everybody who works with us. You know who you are.
So alongside the land minting tool, which we've obviously been working really hard on, we've also got the new marketplace that we're releasing soon. So more information about that's coming up, and hopefully we can show you that in this session as well. All of it has been built essentially to give you control of your assets. So hopefully that'll come through as you start using the land minting tool and the marketplace in the next couple of days. One last update from me before I stop talking is that we've made a very smart acquisition in marketing, and my biggest priority over the next couple of months is just to bring you all development updates. So that's gameplay, screenshots, mechanics, world building. You know, all of you have been asking for that stuff, so that is essentially what I'm going to try and bring you on a weekly, monthly basis. So anything you want to see, just ask me, and we'll get it done. Rob, Riddle, is there anything you'd like to add in terms of updates to the project?
I mean, I have so much to talk about all the time in terms of what's going on under the hood. It's probably better to be more focused on questions as opposed to giving me an open season on what we've been doing, because I've been taking up the whole hour. But yeah, so I'll kind of not begin down that route. But I would like you, Dan, to talk a little bit about your past experience. Tell us a bit about yourself before joining Cryptoverse and your marketing expertise, because you're not just a sexy voice, are you, really?
No, much less than that actually, Rob. But cheers. So my name is Dan. I've been in marketing for about sort of 10 to 12 years. I've been primarily working in the sort of technical space. So working in actually promoting real commercial properties. So I think I've got a lot of transferable skills going from commercial property to virtual property. So I think I'm well placed for this job. Um, I'm really excited to get you all on board with what we're doing, and what I'm very good at is showing you exactly what we're doing and when we're doing it. So I'm hoping I'll be very transparent. You can all see what's coming as we get it, and you'll all start to really get excited about what's coming up, because I've been listening to these guys talk for the last couple of months, and it's looking pretty good. But I would say that.
And Dan, like, just before we dive into the AMAs, just on to piggyback off that in terms of your introduction and your past experience. Obviously, we know each other. We knew each other before this, but you told me something really interesting about your general findings of the market and the direction of marketing in terms of a general, I would say, ideological shift towards metaverse. So can you talk a little bit about the idea of the metaverse in general and what businesses and marketeers are looking towards in the metaverse?
So one of the things I've come from I also came from a recruitment company, exec recruitment company, and as I was working for them, we work with all these top brands in the industry. So, think of our sort of people we hate like Meta, Disney, all the big names that you can think of. We were working with, and one of the biggest questions they were asking is, how do we get involved in metaverse? Who knows how to do metaverse? So one of the big excitements for me joining was to be part of this. It just seems like such an exciting place to be. It's what all the top brands are talking about, and they can't stop talking about it. Disney has just hired a chief metaverse officer, so that's the thing now.
Yeah, I turned down their 8-figure a year offer. Thought, nah, sod that.
And I took 2 figures to come here, Rob, so I must like it.
Yeah, I wish you cost 2 figures.
No, so yeah, I'm really excited to join, and we're calling it what, the Internet 2.0 or something, aren't we? This is the next generation
Web
of how people.
3.0.
I'm calling it Internet 2.0, so I sort of coined that right now, so everyone can sort of get on board with that and start calling it Internet 2.0 from today. No,
Totally technically inaccurate, but cool. Let's run with that.
that's why we've got you guys on the call. Great. So, right. So let's get started then, shall we? Some questions, unless you've got any more updates.
No, let's go with the questions. It's easier, like I said, than me just going blah 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 blah. Let's get focused on the questions.
All right. So, as I say, if you've got anything that's not covered, I'm going to keep an eye on the questions coming in. So, if you want to come up on stage, let's do it. Let's start. Let's talk metaverse. But the first question is actually pretty general. Mridul, I'm hoping you can answer this. Can you give us a quick overview of the land minting tool and how it works?
Oh boy, that's a real beauty. So basically, we want it to be the smoothest experience for all the users. So the picking process, it's basically a combination of WebGL and asynchronous loading. What that basically means is you log on to the Cryptoverse website, and if you hold any CVIP tokens, which have already been distributed, you log in there, you'll be able to load up the map of the Cryptoverse. And as soon as that happens, you'll be able to select exactly which parcels or which estates you want to choose from. If you have a specific token ID, like let's say you and your friend, they want to be neighbors in the Cryptoverse, your friend mints a land. Well, you don't even need to ask them, hey guys, hey guys, what's your exact location? You can even search it by the token ID. You can filter down on the parcel sizes. There'll also be a map of points of interest. If you click on a specific land, then you'll also be able to see more data about it, such as point of interest, where it exactly is, the size, etc. If you are into picking on singles, you click on an area where singles are available and load only for that. So it is so it's a lot smoother, and it is a lot resource less intensive on the client side. So basically, what that means is for the users, it's going to be really fast to load up. It's probably going to be one of the fastest land pickers out there.
That's great, Rob. You were telling me how you think this is one of the the best land pickers available on the market. Is that true?
I mean, we're in a space of opinions, which chain is better than what chain and whatever else. But in my opinion, based on the other examples of a similar sort of protocol, in terms of what the tool does, I think yes, it is certainly the most extensive and flexible and intuitive tool out there in terms of metaverse land selection. And the reason for that is just because it has to be. If you look at other examples of metaverse land pickers, effectively they're working with squares or rectangles, whereas pretty much every single estate and or single parcel in this in the land picker tool is entirely unique. So if you just think about that from a practical point of view, technically speaking, how much more flexible and dynamic the tool needs to be to actually essentially propagate and load all of those parcels, it just by its nature, it needs to be. Couple that with the extent of development work that has actually gone in to achieve this is quite honestly flabbergasting. Our developers have done an unbelievable job. The way that we actually wanted to do it to begin with wasn't achievable just because of the sheer volume of assets. Now, every single asset that is in the land picker tool is actually dynamically kind of loaded and basically compressed, and they are all 3D assets. That means that via WebGL on the front end, every single one of these parcels that you are clicking on is a 3D asset. And when you just think about that for a second in terms of the sheer size of the even a single parcel FBX, which, you know, before we kind of started with development would have been like over 100 meg. And if you think about what a kind of standard web interface can handle, and the fact that they all load dynamically is quite honestly astonishing. And nothing like this exists. It's just fact. It's quite literally on the kind of precipice of cutting edge technology, and it's a wonderful tool. And I know it's been the kind of bane of, and also the one of the greatest challenges that our dev team has faced, and arguably probably any dev team working in the metaverse area has faced. So we're delighted with the result and really excited for users' reactions, which hopefully extends beyond the initial positive reactions of the video that was shown on the Twitter, on the tweet.
I thought you were going to say on the social media then, and you're going to sound like a granddad. So just to add to that, I've actually just posted into the AMA group a kind of updated video of the land minting tool, which is, that's been taken from today. So that is the up-to-date version of it. So if you want to go take a look, you can. It looks pretty slick, in my opinion. You know, and I've seen some land picker tools. Well, that's the only one I've seen, but it's looking pretty good.
Yeah, so funny.
Thanks for clarifying that. One of the other big questions we've been getting, guys, and I'm hoping you can clear this up, is will users be able to sort of view key transport locations before minting their land? So will people be able to see exactly where the high traffic areas are going to be, and will they be able to grab that spot?
So I think the challenge with answering this question is that right now, obviously, a lot of the decisions are fairly centralized in terms of the world building, and I say fairly because, you know, it's leaning on the kind of research and exploration of what other metaverses have done, the kind of strengths and weaknesses, as well as the technical expertise of our content creation technical director and the lead developer in our programming team. So, as well as, like, you know, various kind of people's visions. So it's still centralized in many ways, but they are, you know, placeholders in some regards, because it's key to remember that, you know, and we're very aware of this, is that it's supposed to be a decentralized metaverse, and, you know, we want to empower community members to make decisions about, you know, are the locations of some of these transportation areas the best placed. So it's supposed to be a dynamic and ever evolving world. That's the first thing I'd like to kind of preface that, you know, that question with, in terms of a response. But the map that has been released does identify some of the locations for some of those transport hubs and where they are envisioned to currently be placed. There's a sky rail which runs around the edges, which is marked by a dotted line. That sky rail is supposed to be, like, you know, essentially a high speed train that's above, like, you know, in the air, if you like. In terms of the actual location stops and where they are going to stop, that's not been determined yet, because until the, you know, essentially the large areas of the geometry or the landscaping has been completed and imported, it'll be difficult to kind of make that decision in terms of the best locations for some of them. So unfortunately, to the extent of, you know, where's the actual stop going to be, as I've seen some of the questions, we can't give you that right now, because we honestly don't know. But there are some key transportation areas which are marked. For example, the airports where they are located is clearly shown on the map. The routers for sea travel are also clearly defined on the map. The elevators to the underworld are also clearly defined on the map. So I'd say, in principle, those kind of 4 different protocols for transport are clearly defined already.
Wicked. Rob, just following up on that, there's a lot of questions on transport. What other transports that we maybe not announced can we talk about? Is there any other sort of fun ways that people get around?
Yeah. So again, placeholder decisions. We want active discussion over whether these decisions are in line with the vision for the community's view of what the world would be. But in principle, the current thought process is that there would be teleportation hubs as well for kind of instantaneous travel, which would predominantly be foundation owned from an infrastructure point of view for transportation. So, for example, there would be like a teleportation hub that would be located in the central business district area. It's fairly easy to kind of give that as a definitive answer, albeit we haven't necessarily actively discussed it because it would be logical. Then if you look at the high society areas on the map, well, there's 3 particular hubs which are specifically designed to be curated to particular types of content, i.e. art, fashion and culture. It's likely that there would be a teleportation hub in each of the center of those areas. And you can kind of therefore apply that logic to each of the areas of the map, e.g. Entertainment Dome would likely have a teleportation hub, PvP Dome, and so on. But they're going to be fairly few and far between. The other process of travel, which has probably not been defined in the light paper, and therefore does make this question a very valid one. And it's not been omitted for any nefarious purpose, like withholding information. It was just not principally agreed on because of some of the technical queries at the time around the world building, is that currently the thought process is that users would get a teleportation opportunity to any land that they own. So, for example, so if you think about it from that perspective in your inventory, it could be an NFT. It doesn't have to be. It can just be on in the engine side. Is that if you are the owner of parcel 8671, you would be able to teleport to parcel 8671. It doesn't mean to say that you would be able to kind of teleport to a random area of the map, but you would have the ability to get to and fro your parcel.
What if I'm knocking about with my friends, Rob, and we all want to go back to mine for a laugh? Can we all teleport together?
Again, this is something that has not been clearly defined, and again, it's something that would like to have the community kind of input on. But again, the current thought process is that you might be able to have some sort of like party travel with that teleport back to your parcel, for example.
Okay, mate. Following on from that, one of the questions that's coming, I think it's super important actually, just to get out of the way, is will people be able to build their own physics in their own spaces, in their own plots? So will people be able to sort of mess with the physics? Can we walk on ceilings, walk on walls? All that sort of stuff. That's fun.
So essentially, what we're talking about there is third-party code and its importation into Cryptoverse, and eventually, yes, it's much easier to kind of achieve the importation of third-party content once the kind of technical parameters are defined for that. In terms of code, it offers some other kind of areas for of challenge, but yes, I mean, of course, that's what a metaverse is, the ability for users to effectively create experiences of their heart's desire and their imaginations. And of course, logic is a part of that. There might need to be some kind of commonsensical rules that are applied to that, just to make sure that, the server can handle it, or the servers, and it is performant. Or indeed, obviously, if we're going down the decentralized kind of server route eventually as well, which allows people to kind of host their own service, those contents, it might change. So the idea is here that, again, is that these things are designed to evolve, and what may be true now might not be true in the future. But in terms of from a visionary point of view, the idea would be, of course, to enable third-party code to run.
That's brilliant. So, Mridul, back to you. Is there just a quick question on the minting that someone asked? Is there a specific window for minting? Can you only mint during the sort of the day of the minting, or can you actually continue to do that in the coming weeks, or does it close?
No, you'll be able to mint it. You'll be able to mint it in the coming weeks as well. So there's no exact definitive date as to when there's a plan to close the minting. It's going to start on the 20th, and it'll be open. It'll be open for a decent amount of time. There will be prior announcements if it has to be, the minting has to be closed, or if everybody has already minted their land, the tokens in circulation would show up. If everything is already minted, then I guess, yeah, that would be a good time to close it. But yes, you would be able to mint your land in the coming weeks. I would suggest to go first, because the minting is FCFS, so first come first serve. But you will be able to do it in the coming weeks as well.
Okay, that actually brings me on to a great next question for both of you. What kind of rewards will early land buyers and adopters receive compared to others coming into the metaverse, to the cryptoverse later on? Is there a benefit for being an OG, guys?
I guess this is probably more for me to answer. I think every project should always look to kind of reward the early supporters as often as possible. So this is an evolving conversation as well. It shouldn't be static, but obviously one of the main things is around the opportunity to kind of select the land location first of all. That in itself, if we look at kind of the history of metaverse evolution, which is not extensive if we think about it from a decentralized point of view, but typically the areas that are most desired and are minted first often are the ones that can appreciate in value the most. So that's a big factor. Of course, as well, there are definite considerations for giving users particular items which kind of promote their OG or original founding status of the world, both in terms of title, but of course assets is always in consideration. But even more so than that, probably one of the bigger kind of benefits is the ability to get inside one of the early iterations of the world as well. As a landowner, the only people that would be able to go into the world in the first instances will be landowners to kind of run about and explore. So you kind of get that exclusivity status there as well. So there's a number of things that spring to mind, and of course we've had there's always discussions about different ways that we can reward users further for being one of those early supporters. So I wouldn't say it stops there, but those are the things that kind of jump out in my mind.
In the chat, Kenshiro says that OG should start with higher Piranha score too. How do we feel about that?
Yeah, absolutely. This is without a doubt one of the kind of discussion points that we've had is that giving people that own land maybe a Piranha boost, or those that are kind of coming into the world early doors to test things out and run about and explore, getting Piranha boost. And of course, some of the kind of features that we want to get people active and involved in early doors around the kind of the what I would call the land clearing activities and stuff. Again, you'd get a kind of early access opportunity to have a go at that type of thing, which in itself brings increased Piranha and so on. So there's kind of a load of things that that are going to provide benefit by being one of the early adopters.
For people that don't know, definitely not me, what is Piranha?
Mridul, feel free to jump in on any of these if you'd like to answer them. but essentially the best way I can kind of I would say summarize what Piranha is it's a karmic reputational system, a little bit like what Reddit do. One of the major challenges that we had when we were initially thinking about the world building for Cryptoverse was, without how is the world going to be policed by the community without us being like, and I joked about this before, Dan, is like, we are God, right? Like, here's the banhammer. You've been abusive. Get off the server. Get out of the world. And of course that's not decentralized. But at the same time, you don't want people running about probably essentially demonstrating behaviors, particularly ones that spring to mind, which are quite universally abhorred across the world, would be something like, say, racism, or these types of frowned upon practices or behavioral qualities. So the Piranha system is designed to kind of self-police as far as is possible by rewarding users for what are deemed as positive behaviors. And what is deemed as a positive behavior is it can be, to begin with, defined by the founding team or the wider Cryptoverse team, but should definitely will 100% be the responsibility of the community and the governance to say, this is an undesirable quality. We have voted on this, and therefore you will get reduced Piranha, and then determine the extent of how far Piranha would be reduced for a particular behavior or activity, and whether or not that would lead to expulsion and or kind of maybe even softer versions of punishment. So for example, if somebody is wearing an abusive t-shirt, how far should that be punished? Well, it might just be that a particular t-shirt is blacklisted and it's actually like blurred out in world. If somebody he is being racist down chat, it could be that person is muted from speaking. And of course, I'm not saying any of this would be perfect. It would be an ongoing kind of evolution, but the idea is that Piranha is an initial kind of way to mitigate those questions around how the world is policed.
Interesting. Rob, why don't you just end up with a situation where everybody with high Piranha lives in high society and everyone with low Piranha lives in the underworld? Is that not a thing?
That's a bit. I guess you have to be careful with kind of like grouping behaviors. Just because somebody watches 18 plus content, for example, doesn't mean to say that they're a nasty person. It might just be that that they're an average human being that likes 18 plus content. So I think obviously holistic. I know you're only joking, but it does bring across some interesting questions around. Well, that's just obviously not would necessarily be an obvious answer to certain behaviors. So yeah, I mean, of course, increased Piranha will definitely mean kind of increased reward. For example, items that are kind of developed by the team. It might be like really cool wearables. It might be really cool vehicles. It could be like titles or other things. Or avatars. A number of things that could go onto like the Piranha store. That users will be able to kind of ascertain it by demonstrating good behaviors.
Fair enough, mate. That's a good answer. And I was obviously only joking. Mridul, go on, mate. No, go ahead.
It's pretty much what Robbeh just said. So, the Piranha system, it's basically it's just like your karmic system. You do more good stuff, you get good karma. You do bad stuff, you get bad karma. Pretty much something like that. So one of the questions which might come up is how would you actually increase it, and what are the consequences? Like, so we want the Cryptoverse to be as engaging as possible, and want it to be as as linked to real life as possible. So the more you engage with people in the Cryptoverse, the more you engage with users, the more you talk to each other. If you're in a park, you're cleaning up the mess. That also increases your karma points. That increases your Piranha points. You engage with each other, and obviously, it's going to be linked to the reward system, as you just said. If there's
what
an
I'd
avatar,
love to see is I'd love to see basically a like a courthouse, and it's like you have been accused of I don't know, being inappropriate with your avatar to like another avatar. How do you plead, kind of thing. And then people with like the higher Piranha scores would be called as like the jury members, and then have to decide whether or not that there should be a punishment issued. Fun stuff like that would be like pretty cool. My mind, like my imagination, is just going a little bit crazy there. But all of these things are kind of possible if governance determines that it's required.
It's starting to sound like an episode of Black Mirror, Rob. That's all I will say. That system.
Black Mirror is like dystopian, right? And we're going for more utopian. But for sure. I mean, any world has good and bad. That's just the kind of the truth.
Oh, that's beautiful, mate. That's absolutely beautiful.
Thank you. I thought of it all by myself.
Mridul, I got a great technical question for you that a lot of people asked and can people mint land using their mobile phone?
No, unfortunately, that won't be possible. Since we use a WebGL version for this currently. Using your mobile phone, that it won't be possible to mint land. Basically, you need to be logged in with your MetaMask to be able to, for the server to be able to check if you actually own the tokens. If you don't own any VIP tokens, the map won't load up for you. And MetaMask Mobile simply does not support that. So it won't be possible to use it, using Android or iPhone.
That's fair enough. I think this has been decided as well, just because it wouldn't be a seamless or fluid experience as well on the phone. So we want to give users the optimal performance. So web does seem like the best way to go. Is that right?
Exactly. I mean, it'd be a total mess zooming in on the map if I'm doing it on the phone anyway. So it's a lot easier on laptops.
No, fair enough. That's clear then. Next question, Robbie, and it's a really important one, is can we guarantee that Cryptoverse will not pivot to become, and I'll quote, some piece of crap pixelverse?
It's quite a funny question. Look, the light paper is a light paper, and it outlines the artistic vision and the technical direction for content creation as high fidelity, high quality. So as far as is concerned from the way that it is being built, no, there's absolutely zero chance of pivoting to and I quote, crap pixelverse. However, and again, I go back to this. We are not designed to be the gods of the world. It is supposed to be increasingly decentralized, and eventually the decisions should go to the people who are essentially proposing and voting on governance. If for whatever crazy reason governance ever decided it was a good idea to shift towards a low poly, I quote, crap pixelverse, I guess anything is possible. But to be clear, it'd be something that I think that we would absolutely always kind of object to, and it'd probably mean the complete replacement of everybody who's building the world, because it's a complete different vision and direction. So it's the kind of the logical answer is absolutely no chance of that happening. But in stranger things, I guess, have happened in life.
So you're saying there's a chance?
Well, I'm saying that there is no chance really, but I guess unless we can, governance has a voice is the point here, and you just, I guess, never know exactly what direction things can go in.
Fair enough, mate. Another question that's come through in the live chat and has come up a few times leading up to the event is, and I already know the answer to this, is that we can't say, but are there any clues on corporate adoption in the land sale, and are there any sort of big celebrities that are getting involved in the cryptoverse that we can talk about?
We're not going to name names. That's just how it is, because for several reasons. You have as the kind of administrative team for Cryptoverse, you have to sign NDAs as an individual that's like a controller or responsible for these, and that's just the honest truth of it. And we have several of them, and you just can't legally. So there is interest from corporate, there is interest from brands, there is interest from celebs, but in terms of what's to be announced, nothing right now at all. So that's kind of where I pretty much have to leave it.
Yeah, I'll just say we went to Vegas the other day, and we had some great conversations. So hopefully, some news will come soon on that we can make public.
And I think just to piggyback really quick off that, Dan, one of the really important things to say is as well is that like whenever you kind of speak to a brand or a celebrity or whoever it may be that's not familiar with the crypto space, there's a process of kind of like building of trust and or as well as kind of education as well around what has been built and how it's been set out to achieve. And there's always some reservations around kind of decentralization and the possibilities around it as well. So these conversations they take a long time as well. It's not like a kind of a quick it's not a quick there's no quick route to just being like, hey, David Beckham, fancy it. It just don't work like that.
David Beckham, did you just announce David Beckham is in the Cryptoverse?
Behave. Using it as an example.
Brilliant. I can't wait to see what he does. Next question then. This is for me, actually. Given how exciting this project is there going to be any increased marketing to sort of show that? And I could answer yes, honestly. So my number one job is to effectively promote the Cryptoverse and drive engagement from the community members like you guys. So I'm going to be, I know Rob is going to be on at me, about how we're doing this, what is the plan, and I'm solely focused on that. So that's why I've been brought in to drive awareness of the Cryptoverse. So we'll see. I think so. Yes, that's my answer. Mridul, are there any tips for newbies that brought into pre-sale?
Sorry, could you come again on the last part? Any tips on?
Any tips for noobs that bought into pre-sale? So what should they do?
Oh, they should definitely get into FCFS and mint their land. Well, I mean, they're pretty well off already. The people who were the early buyers for the land, they have already been rewarded with their QBoost. So, hey, that's another answer to what happens with the early supporters. Let's not forget they already got their QBoost.
I will not forget that. I'll never forget that. How could I?
Yeah, and the merchandise that goes with it. Oh, it's absolutely amazing.
No, it's very exciting. The next question I have, Rob, for you is, and I think this is a big one actually, because a lot of people are, as I say, we're just ramping up marketing on this thing. But can you share with us what some of the top priorities are in 2022 for Cryptoverse? What is coming and what can people expect? Let's get people excited about this journey.
Yeah, I mean, so a large body of work that's been probably occurring has been on the land minting tool and the subsequent marketplace, and that took up a huge amount of dev focus. But simultaneously, the team has been working on ensuring that we're working really smartly. So setting up a lot of like kind of on the boring side of things, I guess, all the administrative stuff, setting up your project management side of things, making sure that you've got smart workflows in place for your developers and for your artists and so on. And just making sure that that's working kind of fairly seamlessly and intuitively. Beyond that, we've also been doing a fairly large body of work on the server side, on the infrastructure side, to make sure that the architecture is appropriate. So for the extent of kind of huge technical requirement for hosting, not only obviously foundation content, but third-party content, and that in itself is also a huge body of work. And again, I guess this is not probably the most exciting things for the users, but the truth of it is this needs to be done. It needs to be done right, otherwise everything else becomes redundant. Beyond that, there's obviously been a fair amount of world building going on, which is probably where it gets a little bit more exciting. So the central business district area has been pretty much defined now in majority in terms of how that central area will look from a city perspective. That was done with a very kind of popular, one of the biggest urban city planners. So in terms of what's to look forward to, actually getting in the world and seeing what that central business district area looks like, being able to kind of run around that world and communicate with a number of other users, some kind of basic functionality around, opening in doors and sitting around and being able to kind of maybe jump on a vehicle and buzz about a little bit. So that in itself is the kind of, I think, the short term low hanging fruit for what's to look forward to. So we're aiming for that by sort of end of this year. Maybe might just kind of edge over into sort of January next year, February maybe, for that. So that's the real kind of exciting thing for me, because that's when the first kind of I think that's where the first beginnings of the world are actually born. Going into kind of 2022, can expect an increasing amount of tools that are becoming available. So tools, for example, that will tell you the size of the land intuitively in worlds. Tools that will tell you, the polygon restrictions for, how much, what content can be put there and how much. The technical documentation for how to produce that content as well. An increasing amount of vehicles for traveling around the world. The terrains will start to take place in form as well. So, loads of really exciting things to look forward to be honest with you. Yeah, that's probably it in summary.
I think I just asked you what your name was, mate.
Oh, sorry, my bad. Like I said, you need to focus me on the questions.
No, just joking. One of the questions that's come up a couple of times as well is, why did we select to go with Unreal 5 rather than Unity?
Yeah, there's a really kind of obvious answer to that. The main reason, look, it's important to recognise that there's huge developer communities around Unity, and without a doubt, it shouldn't be kind of frowned upon as an engine. It's got some, real power. But I think that with the recent kind of advancement in tech, some of it even is just experimental. Currently, it hasn't been officially released, or well, I say officially released. It's not kind of like hard-coded kind of production quality, but even some of the experimental tech that's coming out from UE5, in terms of its potential for propagating really high quality content into Cryptoverse, just kind of blows Unity out of the water a little bit. Or certainly that's the view from our content creative team, technical director, and indeed the lead dev. So, for example, Nanite. Nanite is a really exciting new piece of tech that's come out via Unreal, which essentially the TLDR of it is that it intuitively hides content that's not in view and I'm not probably being very technical in description here, but from hides content that's not in view of people's field of vision. So if you're looking at, I don't know, like a building, and obviously that needs to be created all the way around 360, but anything that's not on the, let's say if you're looking at a building face on, anything that's behind is not going to be loaded by your computer. So what that means is that it allows you to be far more expansive in the amount of quality that is baked into the content that's produced, and that's what Nanite does in the Unreal Engine. Now, nothing like that exists for Unity, for example. So, in terms of the possibilities of the quality of content and how it can be done, Unreal Engine is a kind of is a better choice for that. And obviously, with Cryptoverse being massively focused on a huge amount of content in a huge world, something like that, basically propels the possibilities of quality content. You couple that with some of the other kind of more experimental tools around the geometry and stuff, which, to be honest with you, I'm not too well versed in, but obviously from our content creation team, they also tell me that it offers huge amounts of kind of exciting opportunity with what you do with landscape and stuff. There's just too much that's going for Unreal Engine that's good to kind of overlook it and make Unity the choice.
Nice. So it's going to look and feel better, essentially, right?
Well, yes, we think so.
Mridul, I've got a great technical question for you that I hope you can answer. And some people are asking, will all plots be available to select? How does it work, kind of singles versus estates? What is the thought process there behind that? And literally, can people select a single parcel anywhere, or has some of it been reserved?
So single parcels and estates are basically mutually exclusive. So there's no inclusion between those two. If you want to select a parcel which is going to be on Polygon, you will have a limited amount. You will have limited amount of land to select your parcel from. If you want to select a small, you will have a You will have a limited amount of small to select from. Well, I say limited. It's not limited. We have 500,000 plus to select from, so that's a huge variety. But yeah, they're mutually exclusive. It's not like, if you decide to, hey, this is an epic, but I want a single parcel from this epic. No, you cannot do that. Selective lands, epic, small, medium, etc., on different areas of the map have been selected and already been made available to be selected only as single parcels. So if you own a single, you can only select from the areas which are available for singles. And if you own an estate, which is small, medium, large, etc., you can only select land which is available for that specific selection.
I see. That's very clear. So you'll either be able to select one or the other, right? So you won't be able to if something's
precisely.
set as an estate, yeah.
I think what's important. I think it's important as well to kind of underline the fact that basically over 90% of the available land is available for selection. With obviously, I believe, up to only 18% of the land being sold. That means that 18% of the total land mass that has been bought is kind of user owned at this point, and they have a selection opportunity of up to over 90% of that total land. Now, the meaning that there's a huge amount of selection opportunity available for both single parcel owners and also estate owners. And also in terms of one of the questions that I would ask here, so I'm going to kind of jump the gun. I don't know if this question has been directly asked, probably not. Is that how is that fair? Because if I'm a single parcel owner, I want a particular parcel that might be identified as an epic. That's not very fair. I think the key thing to say here is that there was a process that went through in terms of determining estate selected opportunity areas versus single parcel selection areas. However, they were essentially basically curated in the exact same way, meaning that they wanted to present equal opportunity for single parcel owners to own a parcel, let's say, I don't know, at the edge of high society versus the center. So there'll be opportunities for single parcel owners to select parcels at the edge and in the center. And the same is true of estate owners. So practically adjacent to one another. Obviously, it's not the exact same spot, but in terms of what is likely to determine, or be considered in toward the valuation of a particular parcel versus estate, they are all more or less next to one another. So just because you can't select a small estate at the edge of the fashion, like let's say high society fashion island, right next door there'll be a single opportunity. So like every other land curation is either a single parcel opportunity or an estate parcel opportunity, meaning that as far as is possible, there is equal opportunity for locations across the map for both estate owners and single parcel owners. I hope that's clear.
It absolutely wasn't clear, but it sounds like it was clear. But it sounds like it's just that we've come up with a fair system that everyone's going to be able to benefit from, right?
Yeah, it's basically as fair as possibly can be, so that just because it's an estate owner doesn't necessarily mean that they get like the better location selection opportunities versus a single parcel, and vice versa. So we wanted to give opportunity for selection of all of the desirable locations across the map for both estate owners and parcel owners, meaning that if one is identified as an estate option, right next door there'll be another area that's identified as a parcel owning option.
Yeah, that's great. And I put in the group earlier, just for everyone listening, I put in the AMA a bit of a screenshot of the land picker tool, so you can actually zoom into that and get an idea of where those epics are, where those single parcels are as well. So check out the chat to see what that looks like in more detail. One of the questions that's just come up and actually in the live chat and was reflected as well a couple of days ago was what do we do if a wealthy competing metaverse project buys up large portion of the land and burns the NFTs and doesn't do anything with it? Is there any sort of way to combat someone essentially buying a chunk of land and letting it rot?
That question for me?
For you,
for me or for Mridul?
Yeah.
I guess for me.
Go on, Rob.
Yeah, I mean, so right now, no, there's not, and I wouldn't want to jump. I wouldn't want to jump ahead and say, "Oh, we'll do this and we'll do that." If somebody wants to burn land for whatever reason, I mean, other than like in the old Dark Knight kind of Alfred style, some men just want to see the world burn type of voice. If they did to do that, that's fine. There's only 18% of the land that's currently been sold anyway. So this metaverse is the biggest that exists by a huge margin. It is literally 10 times the size of Hong Kong. It's bigger than Greater London in landmass. It's massive. So somebody, if they want to burn an epic estate or whatever, it's still just a drop in the ocean in terms of the size of this map. Now, that's the short-term answer. The longer-term answer is if the community goes, yeah, but that's just destroying the world and giving ownership opportunities or taking away ownership opportunities to would-be content creators, then that's not to stop anyone submitting a proposal to have a new set of NFTs minted to reflect the currently burned NFTs. It's kind of that would make it slightly centralized in terms of the execution of the project management team, but in terms of the actual decision making, that would not be taken by the project team whatsoever. If somebody does that, it would be on the basis of a proposal that is submitted by the community, and if it passed, then potentially then. But that's the only scenario where that'd be done.
Okay, that's fair enough. Mridul, one question for you would be: and this is a lot of people are asking this, will people be able to get a detailed view of the cryptoverse and of the land before they mint it?
They will. I mean, it depends on what the person was expecting with a detailed view. But when you select on any area on the map, if you select a particular land, you will be able to see, well, a decent amount of details related to it. The size, the token ID, where exactly it is, the kind of parcel, any key interest area around it. If there's an airport around it, or if it falls in the business district, you'll be able to see all of that. So yeah, you will have a sufficient amount of information before you actually go and press the mint button.
And once you press mint, that is it, right?
Yeah, once you press mint and once the NFT has been transferred, it's on the blockchain, and that's immutable. You can't go back on any transaction that's on the blockchain.
It might be worth then sort of pivoting a little bit to the marketplace, Mridul. Can you sort of give us a bit of an idea of how that works and what users could expect to gain out of using that?
From the marketplace,
Yeah.
yeah. So basically, on the marketplace, you'll be able to actively trade your assets. So once you have minted and you decide, I want to get a different parcel. Well, you can't go back on something on the blockchain, but you can trade it or sell it and buy a new parcel on the marketplace. So it's essentially how NFT marketplaces work. There's something like OpenSea. This would be Cryptoverse land specific. So once you log into the marketplace, you can list your NFT for sale against a set price. Once a buyer comes in, they can actually see precisely where that land is. They can see more details about it. They can see what kind of land it is, which area it belongs to, what's the size, is it near any airport or so not, and they'll be able to filter down based on those information as well. So you'll be able to see precisely what you're buying or selling on the marketplace as well.
Okay, and just what I've just done is added a couple of videos that showcase the marketplace for, I guess that's the world premiere to the group. So you can have a look at that, guys, and see the marketplace in action. Thanks, Mridul. That was very clear and very helpful. The next question I have with you guys is there a limit on, maybe this is for you, Robbie, is there a limit on kind of poly count within people's plots? So if someone has a building in each room, is there going to be a limit on the amount of detail and polys that we can use in those plots?
The honest answer to that is that at this moment in time, we don't know those exact limits. And the reason for that is because obviously in terms of the server architecture, and once that's kind of established, we will have a better idea. We'll be able to produce some kind of more stringent technical documentation. In principle, if people are already kind of thinking about creating content, I would encourage them to essentially, where possible, bake as much kind of detail into the textures. It's a general kind of good practice anyway for content creation, for metaverse building and game building and so on. And therefore trying to minimize the polys and optimizing where possible and sensibly. The way that we're looking to build the world is obviously using Nanite. So an understanding of Nanite and how that works, and creating content which can kind of take the kind of the benefits of Nanite and how it works. So a bit of research around that would also be hugely beneficial, so that when you're creating content, you have that as in mind as well. If there's any kind of like assets which, say for example a chair has 4 legs, don't be uniquely modeling each leg. You would kind of duplicate the leg, so you're doing it more sort of procedurally, which is general sort of logical knowledge for content creation. So these are the kind of like quick sort of tip answers to that. But in terms of actual definitive, what is the max poly count, I can't give an honest answer to that at the moment in time. Like I said, I think one of our kind of big focuses, probably coming towards the back end of this year, early next year, will be around tools which will basically intuitively tell you, based on the amount of land area you've got, how much polys that you can use. But simultaneously, we'll also kind of basically look at, if a content is imported, it will essentially have tools which will tell you whether or not the file paths are correct for the texturing and various other kind of technical parameters. So we are focused on building the tools which will give users bespoke answers to that, because ultimately every single user in here is likely to have at least a very slightly different landmass area. So the poly count is going to be unique every time. It's not like DCL where we can say, for example, well, in a 10 by 10 it's this amount of polys, and then we use this algorithm for each additional parcel because they're working in perfect squares. It's completely different for Cryptoverse because it's entirely unique. So we need to build a tool which will give users the answers to the number of polys based on their landmass area.
Fair enough, mate. And just sort of piggybacking off that with a follow-up question on building in people's plots. A lot of people have been asking this. I'm not too sure why, but can we add, what is the deal with water in Cryptoverse? Can we add water to our land? Can we build pools? And also, can we, sorry, someone just made me laugh. I'm going to just quickly change my question. Are pets allowed in Cryptoverse, Robbie?
I mean, the answer is, the short answer to both is yes. I think in terms of water, again, there'll probably be, water kind of, which will be created by the foundation team, the content foundation content creation team, because again, where there's water, you also need some sort of physics. So you would be, if you intend it to be anything other than aesthetic, right? If you want to be able to swim on it or do something with it. So I guess, the water that would be available in the kind of stock builder tool would be the default option. But in terms of custom water importation, that comes back to the third-party code and logic question that we were discussing earlier. So there'll be a longer time frame on that one.
Okay, and another question that's just come up. I want to go to the live questions a bit more now. Are users allowed to kind of get a job and in Cryptoverse and earn a salary? Are there any ways that people can, like for example, being taxi drivers or something like that in the Cryptoverse?
Yeah, totally possible.
So if you've got a decent transport, essentially you can take someone, save someone having to walk, and you can take them from A to B, for example.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's a really good example. I mean, the imagination is the limit here, which is why I always really struggle to answer this question. I mean, if you look at what Decentraland Games have done with the casinos in Decentraland, for example, they have I think a live person that is basically the operator at the different kind of tables and stuff, or certainly in some cases. So that those are effectively like full-time jobs, I guess, for people that are in the metaverse. But yeah, in terms of taxes, we want to encourage people to traverse the Cryptoverse as opposed to just portaling around everywhere, which is why it's not ubiquitous in terms of like the teleporting abilities. And same with the other transport options. So having vehicles in the Cryptoverse will definitely be of benefit. The map is absolutely massive. So if there's two stops along the horizontal kind of skyline, there's still a huge amount of places that one might want to go to that they can't seamlessly get to. Therefore, having their own transport options, and if they don't have their own transport option, utilizing some sort of taxi service in some way would totally be feasible.
Fair enough, mate. That makes total sense. One of the sort of clamours here in the group is, and it's sort of following on from what you previously said, actually. So I'm sure the answer is yes, or sort of kind of TBC. Is can users kind of build underground on their land? Will they be able to build a basement or underground parking for business? Is that something we're taking in mind when we're building this thing?
That's a question that we haven't answered yet, is the honest truth. I don't see why not. It is possible, but it would be something even further down the line, because you have to think about that also affects like build height, it affects polygon count, it affects a number of different things. So that will be one that can be explored in the future. It's possible, anything's possible. But there's no direct plans to enable people to build down currently. It'd be one that, again, governance could dictate in terms of development direction, but it would take a significant amount of additional development work to make that feasible.
I see. So hopefully that answers people's questions as well. So can people import their own models into the Cryptoverse? Is that something we're thinking about? So people want to start building their content now over the next couple months, and will they then be able to import that straight into the Cryptoverse, and how will that work? Rob?
I think that's like I've kind of answered that in terms of the infrastructure tooling that we're creating, which essentially enables people to understand the build height and the polygon count, as well as the supplementary technical information for the smart ways to building content. Now, that's not to say that people shouldn't start thinking about building content now, or even that they can't start building content. It just means that there is a likelihood that the content will need to be reworked down the line in line with the technical parameters that are provided, and this needs to be kind of like a ubiquitous approach, because, and I've used that word twice now, because otherwise the server or servers will just die if there isn't some standardization in terms of content creation. So all as I'm saying is that 100%, the whole point of a decentralized world is to allow people to import their own content onto their land and monetize it, and also have custom logic. All as I'm saying is that be prepared to probably have some rework to do once the kind of technical parameters have been defined more thoroughly, and or you're using the infrastructure tools that are provided for build height and polygon count. So yes is the answer. They will be able to, and starting to think about it now is a smart thing to do. And of course, even building something now will probably give you a head start, but just be mindful that there will likely be some rework required.
That's a great answer, and actually, I've got a perfect follow up then, because will we have in the Cryptoverse an education section for classes on building and best practices? So will there be somewhere someone can go to learn how to best build on their land in the Cryptoverse, within the Cryptoverse?
This is something that Decentraland did really well. I actually went to a couple of those classes as well, and it worked really, really well. So yes, the short answer to that is without a doubt. I might even get the technical director to do a course on that at some point, like maybe like a week's 1-hour courses at some point next year, I would imagine. That they can actually go inside the Cryptoverse and actually do those courses in the Cryptoverse, which would be super cool. So yes, there's no doubt that this is something that will be on our minds.
Okay, and we've got an interesting question coming through, because obviously it's going to be such a detailed world that we're creating here that is going to blow everything else out of the water. How do we feel about system requirements for people coming in? What is the entry bar going to be for people that want to enter the Cryptoverse? Is it going to scale depending on your computer or your system, what you have, or is anyone going to be able to just log on and play?
This is another reason why we chose Unreal. Unreal is really intuitive in terms of the dynamic scaling of the quality of the content based on the system that a user has. So in many ways, Unreal will do a lot of the heavy lifting with that regards. But I would always suggest that with anything like an open world with high quality content, the better the computer you've got, the better. That is for sure. And certainly for the earlier iterations where the focus is on getting the infrastructure tooling, getting the world out there and working, optimization typically comes a little bit later. So having a more powerful computer early doors will be more beneficial. And then as the world becomes more optimized, then the requirements will become lower. But it's important to remember that we're not focused on, and I quote, some crappy Pixelverse, as that user put it. We're focused on really high quality, high fidelity content here. That's the world that's being built. So of course, there will come some technical requirements with that from computer specification point of view, but it will become more optimized over time. That is for sure.
And do we have any sort of preference over Mac and PC users? What is your thoughts there, buddy?
Do you really want to ask me my thoughts there?
I know we had an argument about it at the airport for about an hour, which you won. So I don't want to ask you, actually.
Yeah, if anybody in here uses a Mac, I have nothing further to add.
I'm just going to say for everyone listening that he is not into it. But I've got one, so we can
Look,
join a.
no, Macs obviously that if you've got a good Mac, you should be okay. But the honest truth is, there's just a Macs from a hardware point of view are just not as powerful as PCs. Just fact. So, you'd be better off on a PC. Certainly for the earlier versions of Cryptoverse. But if you do have a Mac, you should be okay too. Of course, we'll be looking to optimize for Macs. That might take a lot of optimization because they're just not as good as PCs, but we should be looking to do that.
And if anyone asking, Rob is selling PCs, so that's why he loves them, obviously. Go to his website where you can buy all the latest PCs. Meridian, one for you, actually. I've got loads of questions. Is people have been asking about what's coming next, and specifically around the land sharding tool. Is that something that is on our radar, and what is that, and when is it coming?
The land sharding is definitely on the radar. Basically, we want it to be like a real world scenario. So if you own a larger parcel, let's say you own an epic or so, you will be able to shard it into smaller pieces and individually sell those or transfer those or recombine those. If you have a bunch of singles which make up a small, then you can, if you're the owner of all of them, then you can recombine them back into a small. So that's the sharding tool. Sharding, when is it coming? I'm not gonna give away any dates here. No more weeks on that. But yes, sharding is definitely gonna be a down the line item too. It's definitely on the radar.
To be clear, the tool that's been created to facilitate the ability for sharding and combining for the estates of the singles, the tool already exists. It can already be, it can already be done. In Engine, it can already be done on the kind of on the web interface, but it's not hooked up in inverted commas, or the blockchain infrastructure is not yet finished. However, in principle, that's the kind of the easier side to do. To be completely honest, like the difficulty was getting the tool to be intuitive to actually enable for sharding and compiling. But the honest truth of the fact matter is right now is that there's probably no huge amount of value add for enabling initial additional sharding currently, because only 18% of the land has currently been sold anyway. So there's still large areas of land that are available, and there's still going to be a lot of content to be made just to kind of populate what is existing currently there. Now, if if it's something that is wanted unanimously by users before or sooner, it's something that can be shuffled up the development timeline. It's just not something that has been highlighted as a huge priority currently, but that can change.
Fair enough, mate. So it's in the pipeline, and if there's enough drive for it, then it'll be out basically.
Yeah.
Another question we have, and I think this is in relation to the marketplace actually. So if someone has a single land parcel and wants to buy more right now, how can they go about doing that? So where can they get land from after the mint has taken place?
Currently, there's no plans to sell additional land. Certainly not this year. Potentially next year, there might be a consideration for another round of sales at an increased price. So the only way to ascertain land at this moment in time would be from a third-party seller, a third-party landowner. From the Cryptoverse marketplace, which Dan has kindly shared videos of, and likely also on OpenSea. We appreciate users are familiar with OpenSea, and they usually look at it as a source of trust. But those are really the only two feasible options for ascertaining land right now.
Okay, so there's not going to be another land sale this year, as far as we know. Um, Earliest is next year, and actually, if people want to get land, they're going to have to go to the marketplace and get it, right, from other people.
Exactly. Yeah. The sales, they take a huge amount of focus from pretty much everyone across the full stack to make them work and run smoothly, and the focus is obviously building the world. So development needs to occur before there's any reason to release additional land.
Brilliant. So, good question that's come through, and I've seen it a couple of times. It's just been come up now. So, what makes us confident that Cryptoverse will survive the bear market? Why do we feel so strongly about that? I know we do feel strongly about that because of our beginnings, but maybe you want to elaborate, please, Rob.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of not the team's first rodeo with bear markets. This is my second. I think it's Emma and Idon's third. It probably got members who it might even be the fourth. In many ways, the bear market is sometimes welcomed because when it's bull, there's a lot of background noise. All of a sudden, there's a lot of kind of pushing for partnerships and people are wanting to do stuff with you, and it kind of just can become a job unto its own. And in the bear market, you can kind of get your head time down and focus on a lot more concisely on the product itself. So actually, it's often can be a positive. But in terms of if you're talking about it from I don't know, like a monetary perspective, the Cryptoverse raised good amounts of money for ensuring kind of longevity of development for quite a few years. So that's comfortable as well. And in many ways, it's detached from what the market's doing anyway, because the majority of the sales, for example, are done in like a stable coin, which is also a positive. And of course, there will be kind of supplementary sale opportunities as well, which will further kind of support longevity for kind of foundation development, secondary trading fees, load of other things. So there's no concerns whatsoever from a bear market or a bull market capacity from the team. If that was the nature of the question, hopefully that's an answer.
I think that's clear, Bud. I think that's very clear. We've been here before, essentially, and we were bored out of it, so we know what we're doing, right? We're the OGs, as people say. I'm going to sound really.
Well, yeah, I mean, the founding team, also the founding team behind ChainGuardians, ChainGuardians was founded basically at the kind of start or the kind of first 25% of the last bear market and built through it with little to no funding. So we have experience of kind of how to manage that side of things.
Brilliant. Thanks for sharing that. Someone has put, and I think this might be good for you to answer, Meridian. Someone's put that they might have seen land popping up on Binance and Cryptoverse land to be specific. Is it really land? Question mark.
The Binance land was actually a placeholder NFT. This was part of the land sale or the INO we held with Binance. So the lands you see on Binance, it has already been announced a couple of times, and the NFT image itself says the land expires 15th of May. So please, so anyone who's listening or anyone who is planning to buy land on Binance right now, please do not trade those placeholder NFTs. If you do so, you would not be buying any land. That was only for the land sale, which occurred in early May. Users were asked to withdraw it on chain so they can receive their tokens. Buying any of those NFTs right now will not get you any land, and you'd just end up losing your money.
And that's a really good point, mate. And are there any other kind of security considerations that people should be making in general with Cryptoverse and the land mint?
Yeah, I just like to point out. So the land picker goes live on the 20th, and people and the users have already received their CVIP tokens, which they would essentially be trading in for their land. I would suggest everyone not to send or transfer the tokens in any way. Basically, the token to NFT translation is 1:1. If you own one small token, you get one small parcel of land. If you own 0.999, then it's useless. So yeah, I'd say it's best not to do anything with those tokens right now. Don't trade those. It's at owner's risk. Not recommended at all.
That's very useful. It's very useful information. One of the questions that's come up a couple of times, and I've kind of answered it already, was: are we going to be communicating more with the community? And the simple answer is, without going into too much detail, is yes, right? So, as I say, our key priority going forward is to show you what is going on from the inside. So, I'm working very closely with the development team on their roadmap, so I know exactly what's coming. And as soon as we're ready to show things, we'll be pushing it out to you guys as much as possible. We know you guys, make this thing, so we want you all to be excited and about your investment and about getting involved in the cryptoverse. Does anyone else have any more questions? Let me have a quick look in the Discord. We might be ready to wrap this up then, unless anyone, Robbie or Mridul, you've got any points that you'd like to final thoughts?
Not particularly. There was loads of really awesome questions there. So
Yeah.
thank you everyone who took the time to, think of and ask those questions and to come and to listen to the, to the answers. I hope the responses have been at least somewhat useful to you all. I'm not sure that everyone got all the exact answers that they'd like to hear, but hopefully some. And yeah, just thank you for everyone's support ongoing. We're not perfect, but we try our best. So of course the feedback's welcomed. Governance is something that's also on my list, and how we can look to kind of implement that sooner rather than later as well for Cryptoverse. So would love to obviously make sure that people are, thinking about their kind of active responsibilities, or passive responsibilities for kind of being a part of actively kind of building and governing the world too. So something to kind of look out for, and try your best to do as much education and learning around what an open metaverse is and what it means to be part of a community of an open metaverse, because the world's almost entirely depend upon its users to be educated and making smart decisions in terms of the building and governance of the world.
Thanks, Rob. That's a great outro, I think. And just to let you know, guys, I can see all the rest of your questions. So what we'll do is probably get round to them via text a bit later on. So we'll try and answer all your questions, even if they wasn't answered live on the chat. One final thing from us to say is that I can now exclusively reveal that on Land Minting will go live at 3 p.m. UTC on Monday the 20th. So that's 3 p.m. UTC on Monday the 20th. I hope you've enjoyed the links that I've just been randomly chucking in the chat throughout this session. In terms of what's coming next for us in terms of leaks, we're going to be sharing the Vegas VR demo. So we built a VR experience that we demonstrated to people at the licensing expo at Las Vegas. That's going to be coming out. So we're just doing some editing to make sure you guys see it. And you're super excited about it. But that's an amazing piece of work, and we're looking forward to seeing what you think about that. So you'll get to experience what the Cryptoverse could look like in VR, and that's coming out in a couple days. So I look forward to that. And we hope you enjoy the Landmin. Thanks, Mridul, for all your technical expertise. Honestly, you're an absolute legend, and I'm going to be asking you so many questions leading up to this thing.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Cheers for hosting, Dan. Much appreciated. Cheers for joining Mridul. And look forward to all your feedback on Minting Day. Pick some smart spots, guys. I always think, as a sign off, I always think that center areas and edge areas are always cool. Edge areas are usually pretty cool for views, and center areas are usually good for foot traffic. That's just the truth of any world. So when everyone's asking for loads of clues on kind of hot mint areas, if you don't have a particular piece of content in mind for curation purposes in terms of the different zones, center and edges tend to be hot shit property wise. Excuse my language.
I think people can take that. Yeah. So now you know where's hot shit. Go get it at 3 p.m. UTC on the 20th of June. Thanks everyone for listening, and we'll answer all your questions if we can on text. Take it easy and have a great day.
Bye bye.